Hi, it's Saturday, I think it's June the 22nd, and I'm in or just outside Wolvercote. This is the canal, the Oxford-Wolvercote canal, just before Goose Green and a pub called the Plough. Wolvercote has a summer festival every year, which has about 10 days of events. The busiest days are probably both Saturdays. This one there'll be lots of events on the Green, and next Saturday there'll be a church fete at St Peter's. I'm going to look at the events on the Green now, and so I'm going to walk to the bridge and then cross onto the Green, maybe buy myself a slice of cake and a tea, and then see what's going on. And then, if my battery lasts out, I will walk back along the canal to the city centre to give you a reference and to show you what that's like. The day looked a little bit gloomy earlier, with those heartbreaking, sort of jagged, rather moist, well, all clouds are moist, but you know what I mean, clouds coming over from the west that seem to promise rain and depression rather than anything nice. But the sky's brightened and we've got nice little fluffy clouds now, which I much prefer. Off the canal. Now, I haven't shown you this on my videos before. I went to the Trout on one of them. This pub is further east and is part of Wolvercote proper rather than being on the edge. Technically, the Trout is part of Godstow rather than Wolvercote. And although the Trout has idyllic riverside surroundings, I do prefer this one, the Plough. It's much more of a sort of family community pub. The people who run it know the villagers. Villagers come here regularly, the pub organises parties, things happen outside, there are children's events from time to time, and it's a more sort of cosy atmosphere. And there's somebody, I don't know whether he's waving at me or not, but I've just waved back in case. That is the first summer festival event that I notice, a quiz night. I think this counts as a meadow on the left. On the right, there are what are probably council flats and then some private houses. And at the end, just before the main road, we come to the village hall. I don't know whether Wolvercote has anything to do with wolves. Wikipedia says that the name Wolvercote derives from Ulfgar's coat or Ulfgar's cottage, but doesn't tell you who Ulfgar might be. It's a common conceit amongst the inhabitants of Wolvercote that Ulfgar is short for Wolfguard. So you're supposed to imagine this big hairy proto-Wolvercotian with a sword thrusting in all directions and keeping the ravening wolves off the innocent villagers. And hence, as I say, the name Ulfgar. But I looked this up before coming out, and I found nothing at all to say that Ulfgar or any of the various Nordic variants has anything to do with wolves. It may be related to the English name Woolgar, Woolgar, which still exists. There are still Woolgars around. There was one Wolvercote event quite a few years ago which was called the Feast of Ulfgar. And actually I've just remembered there's an Ulfgar Road or Ulfgar Close somewhere in that direction. So even the planners believe in the name, but I don't know whether it's anything more than a conceit that it comes from the word for wolf. That's the main road, and there'll be somebody on crossing duty. There was one year when they pretended that Wolvercote had become independent, and they set up a barrier at the bridge, and everybody coming in or out had to either show a passport if they lived in the village or pay a toll. Bye. Okay, so that's what's going on today. So let me now go into the village hall. I'll turn off for a moment while I put on a mask.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Oh yes, he likes that. Tickle his nose. Anybody else tickle his nose? Tickle his nose. Let me come back. Sir, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman here, who's turning his back to you. He's not listening. Sir, what did you do with the green shirt? Boys and girls,
and the cakes will be over at the hatch on the right.
choose the best boy and girl to be joining shows.
Okay, that's full. That's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, the dog show will be starting at 2 o'clock. It is still...
Well, there I am, ready to be fortified. Well, that was an admirably hefty coconut and cherry cake, and a nice cupcake. I'm now going to go across the road and see what's going on the village green.
Now, the visiting plays football, which must be in the English women's football team.
Just orient ourselves. That's north, west, east. I mentioned Ulfgar and the question of whether or not he was a wolf guard.
Do you think she can do it? She's just about ready to take a run up.
Notice the logo, if that's the word, of the Wolvercote Village Hall.
Hey, she did it. Give her a round of applause. Friedrich is next up again. Hang on a minute. Friedrich's jumped. Sir, can you look behind you with Friedrich? All the boys and girls, it's Friedrich, yeah. No, it's not, actually, no, it's not. You on your ear? Okay, there he is. So let's put Friedrich back. Now, Friedrich, even though it's a small flea, is going to try to lift the matchstick up into the air. So for a small flea, that's like lifting up a tree trunk. So watch the matchstick very carefully, and what do we all say? 1, 2, 3. There you go, look, he's lifting the matchstick up in the air. There he goes, there he goes.
It sounds as though that guy is running a flea circus.
He's now going to have a swing on the trapeze.
Classes, and the first out of each class will be asked to come in so we can judge the best in show and in reserve, and then all the dogs that are registered, please come into the ring when I ask you to, and then we can see which dog the judge would like to take home. Please don't panic. We will not physically take the dog. We will get a dog bowl instead. Right, can we have a big hand for Judith, our judge, that's come along today? Right, ladies and gentlemen, first class, dog with the waggliest tail. Class 1, please come into the ring. keep walking round. Any more for the waggliest tail, class 1? Right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a result for class 1, dog with the waggiest tail. First, number 14. Can you come into the centre, please? Second, number 17. And third, number 25. Yeah, come in. Can you just stand here a minute? Let's have a hand for the winners, please. Class 2, cutest puppy. I should have entered for that. Class 2, cutest puppy, please, in the ring, start walking round. Long way. Okay. Jan?
Number 13. 13.
I'm not convinced that's a puppy.
That's Sam. 13, 13, 13, 13, 13.
Everyone in my class is saying my name.
Well done, Connaught Drive.
Yeah.
This one, no.
Well, now we need to support the other one.
First, number 13. Please come in the middle. Second, number 24. And third, number 4. Right, ladies and gentlemen, class 3, dog with the floppiest ears. Come into the ring, please.
Sorry, but I've been informed that you're not allowed to take videos.
I'll just mention that they call the dog show Scrufts. If you're from the UK, you've probably heard of Crufts, which is a big annual dog show that's been going for ages. So Scrufts is obviously a portmanteau word from Crufts plus Scruffy. Scrufts. Let's see what else is going on this afternoon. Normally they have a lot of charity tents here, stalls for organisations such as the local wildlife group and maybe community bus services or youth clubs, that sort of thing. I see very little of that this year, so I don't know whether they've been moved elsewhere. That's obviously just a place to rest. It's not a stall. No, I think the dog show is the only event going on the green this year. So this is Wolvercote Green, and it's a nice little oasis of relative quiet amongst some fairly noisy roads. But if you decide to sit and sunbathe, beware, because the place you'll find is full of rabbit droppings. Well, now go and show one or two places in the neighbourhood. Well, there is one thing, there's a pop-up photo studio. But in previous years there were, for example, stalls selling food, and there was a drinks tent and various things like that, so I'm not sure why they've all gone.
Hello. You remember me? Yes, I remember. You want to tell me? What time is it?
That, as I say, is north, and you'll remember me walking up the canal. The canal is in that direction beyond the trees. And you can get onto the canal by going past this gate up to the end of the track, turning left, going over a little swing bridge, and then turning right. And you'll be on the left bank of the canal, the west bank of the canal. And you can walk to Kidlington or to a junction with the road that continues to Woodstock or to Yarnton. So it's a good jumping off point for further walks. And if you go in the other direction, you can go back to Oxford. Okay, so that's the canal walk. I've mentioned the Plough. These are some more of the summer festival events. I think they actually make hay in this meadow. I think if I come back a few weeks later, then I'll find haystacks. I'm sure that, as with every other technology, there's more than just a thing called a haystack. There are must be all sorts of different ways of drying it and binding it, stacking it. I don't know what sort of stacks there are, but I'm sure I've seen haystacks of some kind in there. These are the nice old houses and barns on the other side of the lane. So here I am at the Plough again. A lot of visitors look as though they've just parked outside, but it does have its own car park round the back. So there's normally plenty of room. And this is where I came in. That's the Plough's meadow seating. That's the front of the pub. It's got covered space by the front door. And there are some very nice seating areas inside, including what looks like a converted library. And it has a good range of beers and some nice meals, usually including one special. So that's the Plough. Well, I'm going to walk back now to the city centre, so follow me in the other direction on the canal. And we are here.
I'm not going to drop you. Right, let's go. Hugo's hand is there, looking at the train through the bush. He ran to here just at the end of it disappeared. I was like, no, can you carry me? What?
That's the railway. And that is Port Meadow, and beyond it are Wytham Woods, and over there the houses of Lower Wolvercote, and beyond those Wytham. That's the end of Wytham Woods. So I'm now walking south along the canal, and I must have turned on the camera somewhere round about here when I came into Wolvercote. These must be Wolvercote allotments. That's the back of one of the roads, possibly St. Peter's Road or Ulfgar Road.
Including colour.
I'm now coming up to Summertown, or the land bordering Summertown, and a very posh school called St Edward's, whose grounds you'll see on the left. Little way after the bridge. I very much dislike this bridge because you get cyclists who ride straight through without checking that there's anybody on coming the other way. And sometimes it takes some fancy footwork to avoid them pushing you into the canal. Most of the other bridges are easier. Yesterday I walked home too from Kidlington. This is so different. This is a nasty thing. There's a lift bridge, that thing, that gives onto St Edward's land on the left. It used to be down so that anyone could cross it. And then in the mid-90s they locked it up so that you could only pull it down if you had a key and were from the school. And that meant that if you wanted to get off the canal into Summertown, there are quite a lot of side roads on the other side. You had to go the long way round, either actually go up to Wolvercote and all the way back, or down to, I think it would have been Hayfield Road in this direction.
And then,
It has been made slightly easier now because there was a bridge that was private to an industrial department called Unipart, and that's been converted for public use, but it still means you have to walk for 5 or 10 minutes to make what would otherwise be a straight trip. That's the bridge I'm talking about. That used to be private to Unipart, but it was refurbished when they built a new development around here. You can see that that is 238, but 238B. And I wonder whether the B indicates that it's a late arrival and the public canal bridge scene. All the numbers having been given, they didn't have one over, so they had to use a suffix, like having a house 2A next to a house 2. I have to keep cutting here. A few videos ago, that was because the gimbal, the phone holder, was misbehaving, but I've sorted that out. A more difficult problem seems to be exposure. It's a bright sunny day and I'm alternating between patches of full sunlight and some quite dark patches where I go under trees, and the phone's exposure algorithm doesn't really seem to be able to get the hang of this. It would be ideal if it could get a sort of global idea over the entire video of what the exposure is like, or what the lighting conditions are like, but it confines itself to much smaller regions, and trying to patch these together gets into rather a mess. I can see this happening on the screen, so I have to keep stopping and starting, knowing that when I start it will probably choose a better exposure setting for the immediate lighting conditions, if that makes any sense at all. A dull rainy day would be much easier, but who on earth wants dull rainy days? Well, now I'm not sure whether I've mentioned this before, but there are willows. Some of the trees are willows, not all of them. And there are a lot of houses back onto the canal, and a lot of gardens that back onto the canal. And one of them is, or used to be, Richard Dawkins, the guy who his most famous public science book, popular science book, is The Selfish Gene, though he did a lot of more technical books and of course research too. He lived in one of these houses. I'm not sure which one. Maybe on the front there would be a blue plaque. I think he deserves it. Science populariser is an important job, so quite apart from the research he did, he ought to be honoured for bringing these ideas to the public and showing how important they are. Anyway, one of the houses here, around here somewhere, is Richard Dawkins. Was Richard Dawkins. And he refers to it indirectly in one of his books. I think it's in The Selfish Gene, where he writes, how does it go? It is raining DNA It is raining information. The willow seeds cascading are full of information. It could not be clearer if the willow seeds were raining floppy disks. The reference to floppy disks shows that this was some time ago, probably in the 80s. And I know I haven't got the quote quite right, but that's the feel of it. It is raining DNA. The seeds contain DNA. That is information. It couldn't be any clearer if the seeds looked like floppy disks, if the seeds were floppy disks. Actually, okay, you know that I did a degree at Oxford. I've been to quite a few Oxford lectures, the ones I had to take for my course, other academic lectures that were useful or interesting, and a lot of public science ones. And there are 3 public science ones, popular science ones, that particularly stand out. And one of them was by Richard Dawkins. He was a very good speaker, very, I could say, engaging, in the sense of when 2 gear wheels engage, one of them transmits all of its force to the other one. Compelling might be a more recognisable word, more immediate word. He was very compelling in showing the importance of what he was saying. I mentioned the Unipart Canal Bridge, the one that used to be private to the factory, and was then rebuilt when new housing development was put up around it. This is the next canal bridge, and this is one that existed before those houses were put up, but it has been rebuilt. Used to go straight across the river, straight across the canal. Now if you're a pedestrian, there's an annoying diversion because you have to go down the other side and then round and back. There's a stupid sort of curve or loop, which is okay for cars because they go fast and you're sitting, but it's not okay for walkers, especially if it's raining.
Excuse me, I keep seeing you around and you just seem...
Sorry, somebody was just asking about my videos. So those are some nice drawings.
Craig. I can't even hear her.
One thing that I'm doing here, by implication, because I haven't said it directly yet, is showing you that it isn't really all that far from the city centre to Wolvercote. And if you have some time in the early part of a summer evening, say, or a long lunch period, it's worth trying this walk. You've got the Plough, you've got the Trout further out, you've got the White Hart, which is the third pub, the community pub, and you've got a sort of gastro pub called Jacob's Inn. The Plough is my favourite, I think, though the White Hart shouldn't be neglected. You've got plenty of places to sit out in the sun. You can walk back across Port Meadow, and it comes pretty close to the dictionary definition of the word idyllic. See how quiet it is today. That is Aristotle Lane. There's a playground on the other side. If you go in that direction, you come to Port Meadow. This is the recreation ground. And that goes back onto the canal. I'll turn off while they're taking their pictures. Right. So I'm still walking along the recreation ground. It's still possible that it's one of these houses on the left that was Richard Dawkins's.
¿Cuántos créditos son?
Es gratis.
Can you hear that truck?
Okay, here I am on the other side of the canal bridge, and this is familiar territory by now. Those are Luce's flats, and that's where Luce's factory used to be. And I'm going to walk to Hythe Bridge Street. In fact, no, I won't walk to Hythe Street because you've seen that before. I'll take a slightly roundabout route and show how this connects up with Walton Street. So this is William Lucy Way, where I've started quite a few videos from. And I can actually walk down here a little way. So that's south. So I'm now going alongside the canal. The canal is just over there.
No, think so. Think so.
Yeah, like bro, originally everybody, bad people came here and leave me and took the jobs that nobody actually had.
Now I'm going to go back on the canal.
Put a notice on the bottom of the stairs, like, just come around once on Sunday.
I've never had a man that
This is the next and last canal bridge before Hythe Bridge Street. And technically, the Hythe Bridge Street one isn't a canal bridge because the canal has just ended. It bridges the Castle Mill stream.
Sorry.
3:45. So I'm now coming onto Jericho. Sorry?
You're doing YouTube?
Where was I? Somebody was asking what I was filming, so I got distracted. I'm halfway across the canal bridge, and this is the same canal bridge that I used when I did the Jericho street fair video.
I haven't sorted out any stuff yet. I think that's the job for tomorrow, and then nip out to. I've got one thing I'll let nip out to
Okay, so I filmed Walton Street in the abandoned shops video, and I've filmed the canal in quite a lot of videos now, and I filmed this street, which is Canal Street, in the Jericho Street Fair video. So how do we put it all together? This is the Old Bookbinders, nice local pub, recommended. I'd be very happy to take half an hour off and chill out here before going on, but I have a bit of shopping to do. That's St Barnabas. That's a book that somebody has left behind. Is it of any interest? Midnight's Children. Oh no, I know that one. Lovely, would you call that hot pink? Oh, yeah. So I'm still on Canal Street. Entrance to St Barnabas is down there, and that's the Jericho Community Centre. This is Great Clarendon Street, which is, you might say, sort of twinned with Little Clarendon Street. But I'm going to actually go to the end of Canal Street and then turn left. That used to be a pub. And that is the University Press at the end. And that is also part of the University Press. That beyond is a synagogue which was built, I think, in the mid-70s. And I've been told that about 10 houses were demolished to make way for it, which seems a great shame. But many more must have been demolished to make way for this, surely. And it gives a sort of uncomfortable, closed feeling to the street I'm coming to on the left. It's not a great building, but at least there's a bit of variety in the windows and doors. It's a little bit less faceless than, say, the university's accommodation block in Little Clarendon Street, or certainly than Somerville's cubicle beehive on the other side. Now these are nice little houses. Sweet little houses. And it seems a shame that they have to be stuck up against this horrible bulk. And I do wonder, were there any more? Possibly the street was longer before this was built and went on in that direction right up to the houses that were there before the synagogue was built. These have the same feel as the cottages that were rescued by the Oxford Preservation Trust, by the Westgate Shopping Centre, the last remnant of something that was once much more extensive. Don't really know why I feel that. Anyway, that's the University Press. And if you remember, in the abandoned shops video, I stood in front of it and said a little bit about its history. Now I'm walking up the side. Although you can't see from here, the University Press is actually, or the old bit is actually built on the same sort of ground as an Oxford, same sort of design plan as an Oxford college. It's a quadrangle with buildings all round it. I only found that out when Oxford had an open day, the so-called open doors period halfway through September, when all sorts of buildings that are normally closed are thrown open to the public. One of them was the Blavatnik building, which I also talked about in the abandoned shops tour. And if you go up to the top of the Blavatnik, you can actually look into the University Press, and you see that it's a quadrangle. Quadrangles are the ground plan for most Oxford colleges, so why change an idea that works? I believe that bit has been compared to one of those South American pyramids that various jungle peoples sacrificed victims on. The most recent victims in that case would be the press's remaining printing department in Kidlington, which was closed in, I think, 2017, losing 20 jobs and ending a long history of printing. All the printing is now outsourced. That's Freud's, which I also talked about in the abandoned shops tour, and it appears to be abandoned. And this is Walton Street. And that is the Blavatnik. That is Freud's. And that is the front of the Oxford University Press.
So cool.
And that is Somerville College. Okay, well, I walked to Wolvercote, most of which I didn't show you. I showed you the last portion of the walk up the canal near Wolvercote. I crossed to near the Plough. I went to the village hall, had something nice as a snack, showed you some of the dog show, got told not to show people any more of the dog show, had a brief look at the rest of the festival, walked back along the canal, came off on Canal Street and walked up here. So that's it until next time. Bye.